Boom trap has been showing up everywhere. This hybrid of boom bap and trap might become the new sound of hip hop. So if you want to stay ahead as a producer, this is a genre you need to understand. That's why in today's video, we're going to cover how to make boom trap. I'm going to show you multiple sampling techniques, tips on drum selection and drum patterns, useful effects, and lots more. So to start, in case you're not sure what boom trap even sounds like, let me share a few standout examples. We have Lemon Pepper Steppers by Freddie Gibbs off the new Alfredo 2. Generation by Larry June and 2 Chainz. And what might be my favorite, Willie Lloyd by Freddie Gibbs. These beats share characteristics of boom bap as well as trap, but they're put together in a really specific way because they can easily sound way off if you miss a few key steps. So to make these beats, the first thing that we need is a sample. This is one of the boom bap ideas that these beats use. They rely on samples rather than synths, like many trap beats do. So to find a good sample for this, I'm simply going to search up trap samples, and I'll see what I can find in this playlist. So this is a perfect sample for what I need. The reason why is because how the sounds are being played in the sample. If you listen to a lot of classic trap beats, they often rely on fast-moving, arpeggiating melodies. And that's exactly what we have inside of our sample, making it perfect to introduce that trap feel into the beat. So let's bring this sample into our project, and I'll keep the BPM at that classic trap range as well. Next, let's figure out what we're going to do with this sample. How should we chop it up? Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is the speed of the sample. My worry is that this might be too fast moving. With how this piano in the sample is being played, the beat might become cluttered if I use the sample as it is. So the first thing I will do is slow down the speed of the sample by halving it. Now, as you probably know, whenever you drastically stretch a sample out like this without repitching it, the quality of the sample might end up sounding bad. And this is true no matter how good the stretching algorithm is. So to help with this problem, I will also slightly pitch the sample down. Now the stretching algorithm doesn't have as much work to do, improving the quality of the sample. It's not a game changer in this example by any means, but it can definitely help in more extreme situations. Now I have another idea that I think would sound great. What sounds better than a piano? Well, a backwards piano. Maybe, I don't know, but let's just try it. So I'll turn on the reverse button and let's hear how this sounds. I like this. It sounds more interesting than a regular piano, and I think it'll help the beat sound a little bit more unique, so let's keep this idea. Next, let's find some chops and create our core loop for this beat. There are 2 chops in this sample that jump out to me as a good combination to use together. And the reason why is because they build a simple progression when played back and forth. If we take a look at what's going on inside the sample using Note Grabber, these are the notes from chop 1, and these are the notes from chop 2. And if we listen to what the lower notes in these 2 chops are doing, you can hear these chops create a basic progression when played back to back. So now our beat will actually sound like it's going somewhere rather than just sounding repetitive. So let's piece these chops together to create a simple loop that has a simple progression. Alright, so that's our core loop done. We've blended some trap and boom bap ideas together for our loop. Next, let's add drums to the beat. Once again, we want a combination of both genres for our drums, but this is where we need to be careful. Some bad decisions here can easily ruin our beat. Let me show you why. When you listen to how boom bap drums sound, they are longer and more full sounding compared to most other drums. So what if we tried building a trap drum pattern using boom bap drums? What would happen? Well, this beat would probably become overwhelmed and overly full really fast. So building a trap drum pattern using typical boom bap drums probably won't work. But what about the opposite? What if we built a boom bap drum pattern using trap drums? Well, if you listen to the typical trap drum, you'll notice that they are highly transient, meaning they are short. They don't play for a very long time. So if we built a boom bap drum pattern using these drums, well, this probably won't sound great either. Here we have short transient sounds playing a less dense pattern at a slower BPM. And so we end up having a lot of open space in this beat because the drums just don't fill up enough room. So if that's the case, what is the solution here? How should we approach the drums for a boom trap beat? Well, using a very specific type of boom bap drum can help you here. Instead of using our more full boom bap drums like this, see if you can find boom bap drums that sound more like this in your library. Here we have drums that have that boom bap aesthetic. They are dark and grimy and gritty, but they are also transient. They are much shorter than the typical boom bap drum. This makes using these drums perfect for what we're trying to do here with our beat. Again, hopefully you have these kinds of drums in your library, but all of these boom bap drums that I shared are from my drum kit, Hard Drums for Boom Bap. If you make modern boom bap, including these boom bap hybrids, this pack is perfect for you. It has a variety of drums, drum loops, individual kits, and a lot more. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description box below, but if you're good, no worries. Let's use these transient boom bap drums to build our trap drum pattern. Let's start with our hi-hats. Then some snares. And finally, a simple kick pattern. Now I want to point out you will probably want to avoid using boom bap ideas like swing. As you can hear, it ends up pulling our notes way too far and you get this really bizarre rhythm. I don't know, if you want to make Irish trap music, maybe you want this, but avoiding swing is a good idea with these kinds of beats. But now that the drums are done, we want to move on to the bass. And again, we are going to blend both boom bap and trap ideas for this too. Now, if you listen to a lot of these beats, you'll notice that they don't simply use the typical trap distorted 808 like this. Instead, they blend that subby part of the 808, but somehow add a boom bap texture to them. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but here's one good trick that you can try. First, let's start by grabbing this subby 808 as the bass layer. Nothing too unusual so far. But instead of using distortion to add color, here's what I'll do. I'm gonna grab this piano here, but I'm not gonna play it like a normal piano. Instead, I'm going to use these lower notes down here. And this is what I'm going to use to add color to my 808. But first, there are a few small details I want to pay attention to. For one, I want to change the tone of this piano. This is how it sounds right now. And I want it to sound softer. As well, I want to close the lid to make it sound even softer. The reason why I'm doing this is because I only want a small amount of color on top of my bass, and this softer version of the piano will help create that. Whereas if I had a harder piano sound, it would add a lot more color to this bass, and the beat just doesn't really need that right now. And secondly, I want to turn off the reverb. Since this is being used for low end, I'm worried that the additional reverb could end up causing some muddiness. So let's hear how this sounds. And again, this is how it would have sounded without this layer. So this is adding a bit of extra color onto my 808, but in a more boom bappy way by using this organic sound rather than using digital sounding distortion. So now that we have our core loop, drums, and bass all using boom bap and trap ideas, let's hear what we have with this beat so far. sounds cool, but I do think it's still a bit empty in the low end. While we do have that 808 and it sounds good, they are only playing occasionally. There's still an overall lack of low end, so here's what I will do. I'll grab this thinner, more gentle sounding bass guitar, and I'll use this to create a simple layer of sustained bass that plays at a much lower level. Now there's one more thing I want to do with this beat. You might have noticed at the beginning of this video when I played through the sample, there are these sections of the sample here where this synth layer comes in. And I think this would be perfect to create a slightly different version of our loop, maybe for the hook. So here's a loop that I'm going to build that has a very light synth layer from the sample. And I'll also use that thin bass that I added to create more variation for this second version of the loop. And maybe as one more additional layer, I might just remove this later on, but I think this reverby piano in the background can help fill up the beat just a bit more. Now, like I mentioned, getting the right drums for this is really important. So if you need an upgrade to your drum library, click this little thing that just popped up next to me to check out hard drums for boom bap. But that is how you make boom trap. If you want to watch a video tutorial on how to make general modern boom bap, watch this video next to me. Before you go though, like and subscribe, and I hope you click one of these things.